In the land of Nadia, on the island of Godruma, the magnanimous Lord Nityananda has opened up the marketplace of the holy name, meant for the deliverance of all fallen souls.
O people of faith, O people of faith, by the order of Lord Gauranga, O brothers, I beg these three requests of you. Chant Krishna, worship Krishna, and teach others about Krishna.
Being careful to remain free of offenses. Just take the holy name of Lord Krishna. Krishna is your mother, Krishna is your father, and Krishna is the treasure of your life.
Giving up all sinful activities, carry on your worldly duties only in relation to Lord Krishna. The showing of compassion to other souls by loudly chanting the holy name of Krishna is the essence of all forms of religion.
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
Hey, Sudar, you read the first half of the forward of Prabhu Jivanamritam last week. You want to do the second half?
Should we do the second?
Yeah. Is this the dice?
Huh?
Is this the dice?
Dice.
Dias.
I'm sorry. Is that
The
like a Roman
asan.
thing? Sorry.
That is Roman, yeah. Don't we have that little lectern thing? Wasn't there one? I think we had one.
Wood thing?
Yeah.
I think it was taking up
Okay.
too much space.
I mean the little one on the floor.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that for a while. It's probably around somewhere. Yeah.
Shalom, John, hey.
Dhanavats, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy 50 degrees, everyone. So we just, last week we read the first few pages of the foreword to Prabhu Jivanamritam, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with. Prabhu surrendered. And Jivana means life, and Amrita means deathless, or nectar. They have to mean the same thing. So it means how to live a progressive life in eternity. If you know you don't die, which is the truth, the soul lives forever. Phenomenon, meaning the stuff in this world, is not really what's feeding your soul. Because you live forever, no matter what you see in this world, it doesn't stay forever. So what do you do if you live forever? That's what this book is about.
Mm-hmm.
What's the way to live forever? The way to live forever is in relation to the source of reality. So in the first few pages of this, Srila Guru Maharaj, if we remember, philosophical conceptions that exist in the world in a very summarized way. And generally you can categorize them in two categories. One is bhukti, the other is mukti. Bhukti means I want to get something and enjoy it. Mukti means I've received some reaction from my tendency to want to exploit things, meaning get them and enjoy them. And now I really don't want to be here anymore. So those thought processes are actually quite developed. There's different philosophical paths that explore those very, very deeply. But ultimately, Guru Maharaj says, life is not for exploiting, meaning taking, and life is not for running away when you get the results of your exploiting nature. Life actually has a positive purpose. You exist for a reason. which is to participate and contribute to reality. And the food that you're looking for is love, joy. So give love, get love. And again, Guru Maharaj says, Prapanna Jivanamritam. Amrita means undying or nectar, and Jivana means life. Positive immortality. So positive immortality, not just living forever. That's not that, actually doesn't sound that nice if you're not having some positive purpose, honestly. There's a positive immortality. Is possible only for the surrendered. Prapannanam. All others are necessarily mortal. Only those who have wholly given themselves to the center are living in eternality. Surrender is fully established in its excellence and its constant position. Yet there is variegatedness within that constancy in the form of progressive movement or pastimes. So those last few sentences are a nutshell of reality. Reality is dynamic, reality is moving, reality is generating variety. But your relationship with that is positive, meaning you have something to give. Life is not just empty. It's something to be given to. And in that comes complete fulfillment. So we have to learn how to orient ourselves toward reality. And what surrender means is, I understand fundamentally that I'm on a lesser substance, I'm a lesser stuff than the source of reality. So my relationship cannot be as a colonizer. Okay? As an egotistic being, we tend to see things from the perspective of a colonizer. I look at God and I think, oh, God has good stuff for me? How do I get that? That's our first relationship with God. Oh, you got good stuff? Can I have some bread? Because I like bread. Right? We immediately start to colonize the spiritual reality. And that mentality has to leave. It means I'm going to start to interact reality not as a dominator, not as a colonizer, not as an exploiter, but as someone who has something to give, to serve. And that means my attitude has to switch from, what do you have for me, to how can I be utilized? How can I give to you? That's the proper interaction. Otherwise, you're just kind of a jerk. You're just this little like jerk cell within the organic whole, kind of going like, hey, gimme, gimme, gimme. But when you want to be like a nice cell, then you start saying, how can I help? So when you're surrendered, you're ready to do whatever is necessary to contribute. And in that is freedom. When you can look at reality without fear and without imposition and be ready to give at any moment in any circumstance, you're free. Free of anxiety, free of fear, and ready to actually live. This other life is just a dead life. You know, sucking a couple drops of blood from whatever's around you and being scared that somebody's going to suck your blood. You know, that's like the world we're in. No, not that. No more. There's a positive existence. So that's what this book is about.
What page are you on?
I am on XXII, which is 22. We picked up last time. Such is the devotee surrenders himself to the higher substance, and this is to be awake in another world, another plane of life. Such is the positive Vaishnava conception of life, to determines one's real self beyond the jurisdiction of the world of misconception. The nature of the progressive substance is eternal existence, knowledge, and beauty. Satchidananda. The one harmonizing organic whole, Advaya Gyan Tattva, contains all similarities and differences, held inconceivably in the hand of the Absolute, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva.
Aye.
Okay? You will not read another sentence so packed in your life. This sentence contains the true nature of reality. You guys know what philosophy means? The word philosophy? It means the search for what's real. Okay? And there's a lot of books of people going like, I think it's probably kind of like this or something. This sentence is like the whole thing. This condenses a lot of bookshelves full of philosophy books. I'm just going to save you some time here and read it again. I was a philosophy minor in college, and I've read a lot of, this is what I think. Holy cow. It's a lot of words. The nature of the progressive substance is eternal existence, knowledge, and beauty. So the nature of reality, which Guru Maharaj is calling the progressive substance, means reality is not standing still. It's not just some static, dead thing. You're interacting with something that's moving forward. And that very nature of it is called Sat, which means existence or truth. Chid, which means awareness, consciousness, knowledge. And Ananda, which means ecstasy or beauty. The nature of reality contains truth, consciousness, and then the food of consciousness, which is beauty. Ecstasy, the food of consciousness. Existence, awareness of existence, and the food of existence. That's the nature of the progressive substance, or essentially reality. And then, the next sentence, the one harmonizing organic whole. So that means everything is a thing. There's one living whole which encompasses infinity. There isn't something outside of that. So in a sense, it's one. But within that one is all similarities and differences. Unification of polarity is another way Guru Maharaj says it sometimes. It means it isn't some type of homogenized thing, reality. Not like everything's being... Guru Maharaj says, no two atoms are equal. There is infinite variety, infinite difference within the one whole. Held inconceivably in the hand of the Absolute. So this Sanskrit term, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, this is Mahaprabhu's philosophy of reality. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. You ever hear that group, Kula Shekhar?
Jai.
You heard it?
Yep.
Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. That's a good song. So this is it. This is the philosophy of Mahaprabhu. In other words, it's the philosophy, the search for reality of God. We should maybe listen to that one.
Wow.
So everything is contained in that. There we go. 2 sentences. There is no anarchy in the absolute power. Nonetheless, mercy is found to be above justice. Above judiciousness, the supreme position is held by love, sympathy, and beauty. I am the absolute power, but I am friendly to you all. Knowing this, you need never fear. Bhagavad Gita 5:29. Suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatvamam shantim richati. This revelation relieves us of all apprehension. We are not victims of a chaotic and considerate, and the ultimate dispenser is our friend. So that was one paragraph. That's reality. Sat Chit Ananda, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, all variety within union, and reality is friendly to you. love, sympathy, mercy, and beauty are the principles that govern reality. So if we're not experiencing that,
Because I've seen it throughout my life, that when we have a problem, we have to realize, like looking at philosophy or something, we can't understand why it's said, why it's set down. Krishna's pastimes are difficult to understand. There's reality that's there. Accept that. If you accept that, then whatever problem you have is on your own. But if you forget that the reality is the totality, your dear friend, then you're in trouble. You're floating back in the material universe again. So just remember, there's an umbrella above us that's reality.
Yes.
And whatever we run into, don't try to figure out like how that's a problem. Even in relation to understanding Krishna conscious things, realize everything's perfect. It's just we can't see it. We may never see it because we're very limited. But that ultimately coming to that final position of just helplessness is the perfect happy position for us to have.
Well,
so we have to learn.
Yeah. I mean, this is why Guru Maharaj says, when you really understand this, when you can take this into your heart, all fear will leave you. Guru Maharaj says, this idea relieves us of all apprehension. The devotee should have no fear. Do we have fear? Probably. That God is good, ultimately. We're used to interacting with the environment without God. And what is that experience? That means there is a chaotic environment. There is no telling what's going to happen to me, and I need to watch out for myself. And you think selfishly like an animal, and you think about defending yourself. And then we're stuck. We're stuck in an animal consciousness, trying to protect ourselves because we don't believe that God is good. But if you can believe that, you can live freely and fearlessly. And you will find that it's the truth. You'll find that it's the truth. One other way to think about this is absolute good and the same thing. Absolute good and the will of God are the same thing. And what you need, and you need, and you need, and you need, and what we all need is also the same thing. God's will, absolute good, and what I need are all the same thing. Not what I think I need. That may be different. That's the same. Nothing can occur that isn't necessary and needed and good to you. There's no need for fear.
That's why as we move forward, if we remember this, what Sudarshan is saying, if we remember this, and we try our best to understand which way our guru, which way Krishna wants us to go. If we really try to do that, it doesn't matter if we make mistakes externally or not. Because we're attempting to connect with the reality, and the reality we know is going to be merciful. So we're always safe, even though we're imperfect and make mistakes like anything. If we remember that, then we're okay.
Srila Jiva Goswami has stated that of the 6 symptoms of surrender, which one is central? Can we get a guess?
Go.
To embrace the guardianship of the Lord is central, since total surrender expresses the same ideal. The remaining 5 symptoms of accepting the favorable, rejecting the unfavorable, faith in the Lord's protection, full self-surrender, and humility are natural contributing associate servitors to the ideal. And then he quotes from Bhakti Sandarbha, where Srila Jiva Goswami says this. Surrender is the foundation of the world of devotion, Sharanagati. Cannot enter into that domain without surrender. It must be present in every form of service. And to attempt divine service without it will be mere imitation or a lifeless formality. So this is the big danger. We don't want to become formalists, orthodoxy, people who are attached to looking a certain way and doing a certain thing in a certain order. That may be good, but at the foundation of it has to be an authentic offering from within ourselves. And that's what we need to work on. A real mood of, I want to give. I am for you. Otherwise, religion, and we can see it everywhere, devolves into this series of external formalities where people look one way or people look another way, and then they do certain things at certain times in certain buildings, and these other guys do other things at other times in other buildings. They go, we're different. Because it devolved into what Guru Maharaj says, a lifeless formality. You think somehow by doing this material stuff you're capturing the infinite. No, never. It has to be infused with the real mood of offering within the practitioner.
Our lack of capacity to do that reflects, like Guru Maharaj just said, reflects the necessity for our guru. If we try to serve our guru, he'll take our whatever contaminated service we have and give it onwards to Krishna. That's how we're safe.
So surrender must be present in every form of service. To attempt divine service without it will be mere imitation or a lifeless formality. The entire gist of the Vedic instruction is to dedicate oneself to the service of the Lord. In his commentary, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sridhar Swamipad has stated that only if the practices of devotion are initially offered to the Supreme Lord can they be recognized as devotion. To attempt to execute them and subsequently offer them cannot be pure devotion. So this is a really important point. We don't do the mechanical thing and then attempt to offer it. We attempt to offer it then, because ultimately we're spirit. We have to start to put our consciousness into it. We're very, very good as like conditioned souls at executing mechanical tasks. Right? We learn that from the moment we're born. We've learned it in many, many other lifetimes. And then somebody tells you, you know what you need to do? Well, now you're in first grade now, kid. You got to do this task. Now you're in second. Now you got to do this other task. Task. And you know how to do stuff. Oh, you want me to move that? Okay, I know how to move that. I can move stuff. That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to become surrendered. And the intensity of the try, of the offering, before you do the mechanical task is what makes it real. The consciousness that makes it real. It has to be.
It was a long time ago. We were having this debate amongst the different devotees. And I wrote to Srila Prabhupada and I said, shouldn't we be in anxiety in our service? Because everyone was saying, no, we should be peaceful, we should be... But Prabhupada wrote back, yes, you should be in anxiety for service to your guru. So we want this so much that we feel our own limitations. So I just heard Goswami Maharaj say like that also, that this kind of anxiety in Krishna consciousness to want something that we're not able to attain, but wanting it produces anxiety, and that's a good thing. So, externally we may think, oh, well, we want the peace. But we want something more. We want an inner connection.
Without surrender, activity will be adulterated with either exploitation, renunciation, artificial meditation, or any other thing. So Guru Maharaj is saving us from becoming a religion. We have to make sure that we don't become what the world thinks of as a religion. Oh, you guys, we're these guys and we do this other stuff. It's not that. Everything is meant to be a practice that ultimately makes our activities unadulterated. Unadulterated means you're not doing this because you want to get something, and you're not doing it because you want to get away from something. You're doing it as an offering. That's love. So what ultimately are we doing here? We're actually learning how to love. Because our relationship with reality should be a loving relationship. And the love. Love is coming down to us, raining down on us all the time. We don't know how to love. That's the problem. So we're engaging in a practice because we need to learn how to actually love. So that means our conscious work has to be done all the time. Practice, do the activity, but never do it without consciousness.
Like Arti ceremony is so beautiful. We can all,
Yeah.
like, together try to give ourselves to Mahaprabhu. And watching the pujari offer, thinking, that's a symbol of our attempt to give.
Yes.
It's really a wonderful thing we can do and feel.
And all of these things have to be infused with that kind of consciousness. We're not just doing an empty thing called arati. As Maharaj was saying, like, what's on the plate? It's all types of nice things from the environment, right? There's flour, there's incense, there's a nice water in a conch shell, right? There's a cloth, there's a fan, all these things. There's fire. What happens when that fire is brought? It's offered to the Lord, and then the fire is brought and everyone puts their hand over the smoke and puts it to their head. Why? Why are we doing these things? We can't just be like mechanical about it. It's a nice thing, but there's a meaning to that. That fire, Guru Maharaj says, becomes a prakrita substance. That fire is a metaphor for our own life. That fire is some cloth and some cotton and some ghee that is burning as an offering to the Lord. And the smoke that's coming from that fire means the prasadam that's coming from that fire. We will take that and put that on our head, because whatever is burning as an offering to the Lord becomes sacred and holy. And ultimately all of our lives, all of our bodies should be burnt as an offering to the Lord. Not physically burnt, but ultimately we're all burning. We're all just burning calories, right? And for a certain amount of time until we croak and go on to the next one.
And physically we will be burned.
And then, our body may be burned. So, like, the arati is like, take the things in your environment, learn how to orient them and give them. And take yourself and learn how to orient yourself and give yourself and live in love and fearlessness. By constitution, the soul is the Lord's servant, and the Lord has the right to make or mar, to do anything according to his sweet will. If accepting this truth, we undertake the devotional practices such as hearing, chanting, remembering, and worshiping, only then will our activity be devotional. So, now this comes into the intensity of surrender. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a song called Manasadeho Geho. And in that song, there's a line that says, Maro vira koi joichato haro nitya daso prati tvaya adhikaro. Marobi means kill. Rakobi means protect. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is expressing this mood when approaching the infinite absolute. You can take me, you can kill me, or you can protect me. Nitya Das Prati. But I am always given to you. You're my Lord. And Guru Maharaj says, here, soul is the Lord's servant. Means, you're a lover of the infinite, is another way Guru Maharaj says it in another book. Constitutionally, you are alive and you want to, as a soul, give yourself to God. But that giving has to be infused with a mood of whatever you want. So I said before, I mean, these are heavy things, but I said before, like one time I paid obeisances to Gurudev, and Gurudev said, do you know what obeisances means? And I was like, I think so, kind of. But Gurudev said, it means I am a goat and you can take my head. That's what Gurudev said. But it means that our offering to the Lord has to be this type of courageous offering. You can kill me or you can protect me, whatever you want. So Guru Maharaj says, by constitution the soul is the Lord's servant, and the Lord has the right to make or mar. So can we conceive of absolute good causing a death? It must be. Can you approach in that mood? Can you expand your heart and your mind? If accepting this truth, we undertake the devotional practices, such as hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping, etc., only then will our activity be devotional. So we have to start this relationship open to all possibility. The start of the interaction has to be in complete openness. So if you examine the one way to, just offering something here for evaluation, but one way to do this is to examine the spectrum of possibility that's in front of you, that your own mind is thinking of. Now, it's probably not the full spectrum. You're only going to think of a little sliver of it. But even within that sliver, there's stuff that your current mindset says, I want that. There's stuff that your current mindset says, I don't want that. But can you spectrum open? Not what you want, not what you don't want. The whole spectrum open. Now I'm going to engage in my service practice. Well, that's what we must do. And until we can do that, we can hold it as an ideal. But it's important to have that ideal. We have to hold it. So, okay, there we go. I think we're ready for our tea. Prabhuji.
I just want to say real quick, remind, there's Ashamara's
Oh, thank you.
And I know just...
What, today?
Yeah, today.
Oh, wow.
They're celebrating in Mexico, and I always felt like some like a really deep like respect for Maharaj, well, for everyone, but especially for Maharaj, because when I met him like 20 years ago, I saw him in India. By the time I worked with him, everyone was like in the festivals, and you see all these big sannyasis like right next to Gurudev.
Yes,
and
yes.
I remember after the festival, like everyone went to sleep after prasadam, and everyone waking up and walking through the mud, and it was like everybody gone, and Maharaj was in his gamchas like sweeping the floors and picking up everything. I was like, oh my God, I felt like embarrassed, ashamed, like that I wasn't doing anything. And I went back and was like, Maharaj, you need help? And he's like,
Truly.
humility.
Very nice from Mehmet Sardas.
The first time I met Ashram Maharaj, I didn't know anyone from the Mat. I just went to India, and then I saw him I just saw him around, and I got the feeling wow, he's like a war general. Like I could feel his and then when I sat in his class, he was like.
And there was like this concrete kind of box where everyone would throw their plate and their clay cup. Basically, the plates were made out of leaves, and then you had like a little cup, and then you just basically throw it in this concrete kind of pit. And I was thinking wow, everything must break down in the pitfall. And I was thinking everything just really broke down really fast. But then one day after Prasadam, when everyone goes to sleep. So lunch prasadam happens and everyone goes to sleep in the afternoon in India. And for some reason I couldn't sleep, which normally I can quite well in the afternoon. But I looked out and Ashram Maharaj was at the pit cleaning out everyone's plate and taking it over and to the cow area. And at the bottom, I mean, because I did the same thing, I went over there, and at the bottom, I mean, there's like these maggots that are like astounding.
And there's like fumes coming
Yeah,
out.
it's like fumes coming out.
I did that
It's like-
service with Bali actually, like, and I got sick like because of all this.
But that's him. And that actually is like an example for us. Because, you know, he was like unbelievably, I mean, he's a very, very handsome guy. He was on like one of the Mexican national football teams, like soccer teams.
Professional.
Yeah, like professional, like just like, you know, materially like a very gifted person.
Family's wealthy.
Family's wealthy. And, you know, you think about the stories of the 6 Goswamis, you know, we just read the song, it's like they rejected as insignificant all ideas of aristocracy, I think is one of the translations there. You know, that's Ashram Maharaj. Like Raghunath Das Goswami, extremely wealthy. Rupa Sanatan, extremely wealthy, right? And they rejected that as like nothing, like not even appealing in any way. And it's the same thing with Ashram Maharaj. You know, but he's not going to like tell you any of his story. All you're going to see when you're around him is like someone who's so sweet that it's almost like kind of overwhelming. But again, like any devotee, he's got a fire burning him that's so intense. Actually, when you're around him for a while, you start to feel like, oh man, this is intense. Because he's rigidly disciplined toward himself. Right? And it is very intense, actually, to be around these Vaishnavas. But we're so fortunate. I mean, those are the people who came to Srila Govinda Maharaj. You know, when you're around these people, they're rejecting a certain type of societal and formal consciousness. But that's not because they can't handle it. It's because their tuner is seeking where's that real thing. And they're showing us how to live, really. How to live. So
Shortly
yeah.
after I took, I want to tell you one
Yeah,
story.
of course, please.
Shortly after I took sannyas, Janardhan Maharaj and Ashram Maharaj were sharing a room. I went to that room and I said, you know, I don't know what I've gotten myself into. This is too intense. I'm not qualified for this. I don't know what to do. And Ashram Maharaj looks right at me and says, I also feel like that. I thought, okay, I guess this is reality. And Janardhan Maharaj like looked at me and smiled. Like, here you are.
So Ashram Maharaj is Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj. He runs our Mexican mission. And I mean, if you ever met any of the Mexican devotees, you're just like overwhelmed by sweetness. They run a nice summer camp every year. We were fortunate they held it in Tijuana one year, so we could actually drive down there. It's like 10 hours away. He lives in a farm property that he bought. Like that's his normal kind of base in Tikul, which is where all the pyramids are in the Yucatan Peninsula. And it's very hot there.
Jungle, huh?
Jungle. And that's where he stays in his sort of normal bhajan place when he's not traveling around. So anyways, we can remember him. Today is his day. He came to this planet to perform his seva. And great devotee.
Jai.
Jai Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Vishnu Srila Bhakti Rakshaka Sri Bhakti Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.